High on a quiet green hill, the old mansion stood under cloudy skies. The wind blew gently, shaking the dry leaves around the stone steps. Inside, the halls were silent, with only the ticking of a tall clock echoing through the cold rooms. In the center of this quiet world sat Mara, a 75-year-old woman, wrapped in a thick shawl. Her silver hair was neatly tied back. Her eyes, though tired, still held the fire of her younger days. Once, this house was full of life. Now it was just her and silence. Mara had built this place with her late husband, Reed, many years ago. They had started with nothing. Reed worked the land, and Mara learned to buy and sell rare earth minerals. Over the years, their success grew. They bought land, invested in space mining, and became one of the richest families in the region. Together, they raised 3 children, Neil, Raya, and Toma. She had given them everything: the best education, the finest food, a future without worry. But now she was alone. After Reed died, things began to change. Her children became busy, distant. They lived in other cities, off-world, on floating colonies or Mars domes. She had hoped they would return to visit, at least during the final years of her life. But months passed. Then years they didn't call. They didn't write. They only spoke through messages about money, properties, and shares. Never about love or memories or how she was feeling. 2 months ago, she had sent a message: "Come visit. I don't have much time left." No reply. Today, she received another message. It was short, cold: "Please sign over the mining rights. We'll send a lawyer." Mara placed the message device on the table. Her hands shook, not from illness, but from something deeper: disappointment. Suddenly, a sound broke the silence. The door creaked. A soft knock followed. She slowly stood up, leaning on her cane, and walked to the front door. She opened it, expecting perhaps the lawyer they mentioned. But it wasn't a lawyer. It was a boy. No more than 12. Dirty boots, torn jacket, and a curious look in his eyes. "Are you the old lady who owns this house?" he asked boldly. Mara raised an eyebrow. "I suppose I am." "And who are you?" "My name's Leo. I live down the hill. My parents work in the solar farm." She smiled faintly. "Why are you here, Leo?" "I was just exploring." This place looked interesting, big, empty. "Are you all alone?" She didn't lie. "Yes, I am." Leo paused. "That's sad." Mara's smile grew a little. "Yes, it is." He looked at her carefully. "Do you want some company?" "I got time." And just like that, a stranger sat at her table. They shared tea and biscuits. He told her about the stars he saw at night, the books he read, the games he played with old farm robots. And Mara, for the first time in many years, laughed. That night, she sent one last message to her children. Just 4 words: "I have a guest." She didn't expect a reply. But she didn't care. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like a shadow in her own home. Far away, across different colonies and cities, her children saw the message and felt something, not guilt, but a small, strange fear. They didn't know why, but they would soon. The next morning, soft sunlight poured through the tall windows of the mansion. Mara woke up early, as usual. Her bones ached, but her heart felt lighter. She made her way to the kitchen, and to her surprise, Leo was already there. He stood near the window, staring at the sunrise. "You came back," Mara said gently. Leo turned with a grin. "You said you liked stories." "I thought of more to tell," she smiled. "Then come, storyteller. Tea's ready." They sat together at the long dining table. One end, once used for business meetings, now turned into a space of friendship. Leo spoke of silly things, about chasing lizards in the fields, building a glider from junk, and painting stars on his ceiling. Mara listened with full attention, sometimes closing her eyes and imagining herself as a child again. Then Leo asked, "What was it like? Being rich? Mara paused. "Busy," she said after a moment. "People always wanted something. Money, advice, help. But few stayed just to ask how I was." Leo tilted his head. "Like your kids?" She nodded slowly. "They're far away. And they don't care anymore. I suppose they care about the things I own, not the person I am." Leo didn't know what to say. He looked down at his cup. After breakfast, Mara took him to the old study. The room was filled with strange machines, dusty books, and glowing blueprints. "What's this place?" Leo asked. "My lab," Mara said. "I used to work on special tech, before I got too tired." She handed him a small cube. It lit up in his hand, floating gently above his palm. Leo gasped. "Is this real tech? Earth core crystal. Very rare. It can power a whole village for a week." His eyes widened. "You made this?" She nodded proudly. "Long ago. I was once called the Mind of the Mountain. That's what the news folks named me." Leo was amazed. He had never met someone important before, at least not someone so kind. For the next few days, he returned again and again. Sometimes after school, sometimes early in the morning. He helped her clean the rooms, fix broken things, and even made her laugh with his robot voices. Mara's face, once dull and tired, began to glow. The lonely air in the mansion started to fade, but elsewhere, in tall city towers and orbital homes, her 3 children received another message from the family lawyer. It read, "Mara's energy patents have been reactivated. A child has been listed as her apprentice." Neil, Raya, and Toma stared at their screens, confused and alarmed. "A child?" Raya asked aloud. "What is she doing now?" "This isn't good," said Neil. "If she signs anything, we lose control." Toma folded his arms. "We should have gone to see her. Now someone else is getting close. She's old. What can she even do?" Neil scoffed. But deep inside, they all felt the same cold thought. What if she's planning something? Back at the mansion, Mara watched Leo fly a small drone down the hall. She laughed as it spun in loops. "You've brought life back to this place," she said. Leo smiled. "You're like the grandma I never had." Her eyes softened. "And you're like the grandson I wished for." That evening, she opened her old journal. With shaky hands, she wrote, "He doesn't want my wealth, just my words, just my time. That is rare. I will not forget." Then she called the lawyer. "I'd like to change the terms of my final contract," she said calmly. "But Madam Mara, my children had their chance. Now I will choose for myself." Outside, stars blinked in the night sky. The wind whispered. Across the hill. And far away, 3 grown children sat in silence, not because they lost something, but because they sensed something was rising. And it was not for them. Mara sat at her work table again, something she hadn't done in years. The tools felt familiar in her hands. Wires, crystals, circuits, and data chips were laid out neatly in front of her. She worked slowly, but with clear purpose. Leo sat across from her, watching closely. "What are you building?" "A gift," Mara said, not looking up. "For me?" She smiled. "Maybe, or maybe for the world." She tapped a crystal piece with a tool, and it glowed bright blue. The humming sound filled the room. "This is something your parents will never see in their lifetime," she said, almost to herself. Leo leaned in. "But why are you giving it to me?" Mara placed the tool down. "Because you saw me when no one else did. That means more than all that she riches in this house." Leo was quiet. He didn't know how to answer that. For the next few days, the house buzzed with energy. Machines were activated. Walls that had been quiet for years lit up with blinking lights. Screens flickered with old blueprints, and robotic arms moved again in the basement workshop. Mara's strength was fading, but her mind was sharp. Every moment was focused. Every step had meaning. Outside, clouds gathered in the sky. A storm was coming, And so were her children. Neil, Raya, and Toma had finally made a decision. They were coming home. Not for love, not for memories, but for control. They boarded their private shuttle from the city and flew toward the hill. The mansion grew larger through the windows. She's probably too old to argue now, Neil said. We'll tell her. It's best if we take care of things, said Raya. Toma crossed his arms. If she signs something strange, we'll reverse it. She doesn't know what she's doing. But deep down, they weren't sure. When they landed near the gate, the old house looked exactly the same, but something in the air felt different. The guards were gone, the lights were on, and a low humming sound came from beneath the ground. They stepped forward. Inside, Mara knew they had arrived. She felt it in her bones. She placed the final piece inside the invention and closed the panel. The device was small, round, silver, and glowing. About the size of a fruit. It hovered in the air when she let go. Leo watched in awe. What is it? Mara looked at him, her eyes deep and clear. It holds power. Clean power. Unlimited. It can light up villages, fly ships, run farms, all without harming the earth. Leo blinked. But that's huge, she nodded. And they will want it. The doorbell rang. Leo stood up. I'll get it. No, she said gently. Let me. Mara opened the front door slowly. Her children stood there, dry but cold, their faces serious. Mother, Neil said. We came to talk. Mara looked at them one by one. She did not smile. You're late, she said. Raya stepped forward. We heard you've been working again with a child. Toma added. Is it true you changed the will? Mara nodded calmly. Yes. They all frowned. You can't just hand over everything to a stranger boy, Neil said. He's nothing to you. Mara's voice stayed soft. He is something to me. He came when no one else did. Raya raised her voice. We're your children, your blood. And yet, Mara said, you forgot I was alive. There was silence. Then she turned slightly, revealing Leo standing in the hallway. The small glowing invention floated beside him. Their eyes widened. What is that? Toma asked. Something you don't deserve, Mara replied. Something he will protect. They were frozen. Her words, soft but sharp, hit them. Harder than they expected. You left me behind. You watched me fade. Now you want what I built. But you never asked how I felt. You never asked what I needed. Neil stepped back. Raya looked away. Toma clenched his jaw. Mara's voice remained steady. That boy gave me time, respect, and warmth. You gave me silence. She looked at them one last time. Now go. And with that, she shut the door. Heavy clouds covered the sky. The wind howled over the hilltop mansion. Rain began to fall, tapping on the glass windows like tiny fingers. But inside the house, the warmth still glowed, not from fire, but from hope. Mara sat in her study, resting in her chair. The small floating device pulsed softly beside her, like a heartbeat. Leo stood near the window, watching the storm. They didn't even say sorry, Leo whispered. Mara gave a faint smile. Sorry is easy to say, change is harder. Do you think they'll come back? They will. But not for me, for this, she said, pointing to the glowing invention. Leo stepped closer. Then what do we do? We prepare, Mara said, standing up slowly. This time, they won't take what they don't understand. At the edge of the hill, Neil, Raya, and Toma stood near their shuttle. The rain soaked their coats, but they didn't move. She really meant it, Raya said. She's giving it all to that boy. Neil's hands were tight fists. He's just a kid. She's lost her mind. No, said Toma. She knows exactly what she's doing, that thing inside. It's real tech, powerful tech. They stared up at the glowing windows. We can't leave without it, Neil said. We need to act fast, before the lawyers seal everything. That night, As the storm grew louder, Mara showed Leo the secret room under the mansion. They took a hidden lift down to the basement. The walls were filled with old machines, metal arms, and dusty prototypes. "This is my real work," Mara said. "Hidden from the world, hidden from even my children." Leo's eyes were wide. "All this, you built it?" "Some were experiments. Others were dreams I never finished. But now I will finish one more." She led him to a long table. On it sat a second device, almost like the first one, but larger and heavier. "What's this?" "A protector," she said. "It holds the same power as the first, but it's connected to the house." "To the house?" Leo asked. Mara nodded. "If anyone tries to steal what's inside, the system locks down. The tech becomes useless. Only someone I trust can use it." Leo looked unsure. "What if they try to hurt you?" Mara placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Then I trust you to protect what matters." The next evening, as the rain softened, the children returned. But this time, they came through the back gate, quiet and careful. Neil had a small scanner in his hand. Toma carried a case with tools. Raya whispered, "We get the device, take it, and fly out. She can't stop us." Neil scanned the wall. Security is low. She trusts the boy too much. They slipped inside through a side door and made their way to the study. The room was dark. Empty. The device was gone. "Where is it?" Neil hissed. Suddenly, lights flicked on. Leo stood behind them. "Looking for something?" They turned. "What are you doing here?" Toma asked. Leo didn't move. "She trusted me." Neil stepped forward. "Where is it?" "She hid it. It's safe." "We're her family," Raya shouted. "No," Leo said, voice calm. "You were her children, but you left her. I didn't." Before they could speak again, Mara entered the room. She stood tall, holding a small control stick. "I warned you," she said softly. "But you didn't listen." The walls glowed. A soft alarm rang through the air. The floor panels lit up with blue light. Neil reached for the table, but it was empty. "Too late," Mara said. "You wanted my legacy. But you lost your chance." They stared at her, frozen again, and then her final words, "You abandoned me. But I found someone better than children. I found loyalty." The soft blue lights faded as the mansion's security system returned to normal. Mara lowered the control stick. Her children stood in silence, eyes wide. Not with anger now, but with shock. Leo stood tall beside her, hands clenched but calm. Mara turned and walked toward the large window, looking out into the fading rain. "I once dreamed of leaving everything to you," she said quietly. "But dreams change when hearts are broken." Raya stepped forward. "We came to fix things." "No," Mara interrupted. "You came for the device. Not for me, not even a hug. Not even a single memory." Neil looked down, his voice low. "That boy, he doesn't deserve what you've built." Mara turned around slowly, her face calm but firm. "He gave me time, respect. He came with empty hands but a full heart. That's more than you ever gave." Toma gritted his teeth. "You don't understand what you're doing." "I understand more than you think," she said. "That's why the system is now locked." Leo looked at her. "Locked?" She nodded. "The invention cannot be moved. It is connected to the house and the land. If anyone tries to steal it or break it apart, it will shut down forever." Neil's face twisted in frustration. "You're throwing away your life's work." "I'm protecting it," she said, "from greed." Later that night, the children sat in a guest room. They hadn't planned to stay, but the storm had returned, stronger than before. The winds howled like wolves outside. Inside there was only silence between them. "We lost her," Raya whispered. "We never really had her," Toma replied. Neil sat in the corner, staring at nothing. "She gave it all to a stranger." "No," said Raya. "She gave it to someone who listened." They didn't argue. For the first time in years, they felt something they couldn't explain. Not anger, not pain, but regret. In the basement, Leo stood with Mara beside the large table. The protector device was active. Lights blinked slowly around the frame. "Will they try again?" Leo asked. Mara nodded. "Maybe, but not tonight. The storm is watching now." Leo tilted his head. "Why did you trust me?" Mara smiled faintly. "Because you didn't ask for anything." He looked down at the floor. "I just wanted to know you." "And you did," she said. "That's why I'm teaching you now." She opened a panel and handed him a small card. It glowed softly in his hand. "What's this?" "A key," she said. "To knowledge. My research, my secrets. Everything I learned in my life." Leo looked up, his eyes wide. "But I don't know how to use it." "You will," Mara said. "You're young, and your heart is in the right place." The next morning, the sky was clear again. The storm had passed, leaving the grass wet and the air fresh. Mara sat in the garden, wrapped in her shawl. Leo brought her tea. The birds chirped nearby, and soft sunlight warmed the stones. "You know," Mara said, "I thought I would die alone." Leo frowned. "Don't say that." She gave a kind smile. "It's not sad. It's just the truth I once believed. But then you came." He sat beside her. "I'm glad I did." They sat quietly for a while. Then she looked at him and said, "When I'm gone, they will come back again. They'll try everything." Leo looked serious. "I'll stop them." "No," she said gently. "You won't need to. Because I left something stronger than walls and locks." "What?" "A story. One that will live beyond this house. One that will make others remember not what I made, but who I was." Leo blinked. "You mean your final words?" She nodded. "They won't just freeze the ones who hear them. They'll open the eyes of those who forgot what love looks like." A week passed. The skies above the mansion were calm. The wind was soft, and birds returned to the trees. But inside the house, time was slowing down. Mara's health had begun to fade. Her steps were slower. Her hands shook more often. But her eyes, those wise, sharp eyes, were still full of light. Leo noticed it. He stayed closer to her, making her tea, helping her move from room to room, listening to her stories. Every evening, they sat in the garden, speaking about the stars, the past, and what comes after. One day, Mara handed Leo a small black recorder. "What's this?" he asked. "My voice," she said softly. "I want you to keep it. And when the time is right, play it." Leo held it carefully. "Are you going somewhere?" She smiled, tired but peaceful. "We all go somewhere someday, but not all of us leave something behind." Leo looked down, his chest heavy. "You've already given me everything," he said. "No," Mara said, placing her hand over his. "I've given you the door. Now you must walk through it." That night, in a quiet room lit only by a soft lamp, Mara sat on her bed. Leo stood by her side. "You must not let anger take over when they return," she whispered. "Speak calmly. Show strength through kindness. That's what they never learned." Leo nodded, fighting back tears. "I'm proud of you," she said. "Not because you're smart or strong, but because you cared." Those were the last words she said. Before sunrise, she was gone. The news spread slowly at first. Then, like a fire, it reached the cities, the colonies, the towers beyond the clouds. Mara, the mind of the mountain, passes at 75. Energy invention remains hidden in will. Stranger boy listed as sole heir. Reporters rushed to the hill. Drones flew above the mansion. Cameras waited at the gate. Inside, Leo sat alone. The house was quiet again. But it felt different this time, not empty. Just waiting. He opened the small recorder and pressed play. Mara's voice filled the air. "If you are hearing this, I am no longer in the world, but my words remain. I had 3 children by blood. I gave them everything I had. I gave them gold, land, ships, and my name. But they gave me nothing in return, not love, not time, not even a goodbye. One child, however, came to me with nothing in his hands, but love in his heart. That is why I chose him. I chose kindness over blood. I chose care over tradition. I chose a future built on loyalty, not greed. And to those who come asking for my invention, hear me clearly, you abandoned me in life. You will not use me in death. My final words are not of anger. They are truth. You left me when I needed you most. Now I leave you with nothing. Let that echo in your minds for the rest of your days. Those words spread across the networks. The video was copied, shared, played in homes, schools, and even government halls. People wept. Others grew silent. And somewhere in a city tower, Neil, Raya, and Toma watched the message play. They did not speak. They couldn't, because her voice had cut through every wall of pride they had built. Not with shouting, but with calm truth. Back at the mansion, Leo stood outside as people began arriving, not the reporters, not the greedy, but kind people from nearby towns, farmers, children, old friends of Mara who had not seen her in years. They brought flowers, food, candles, and memories. They sat in the garden and told stories of the woman who once helped them all. A woman who had given light, not just from her inventions, but from her heart. Leo sat among them, quiet but strong. And the house, once cold and forgotten, now felt alive again. Not because of wealth, but because of respect, because of a voice that still echoed in every room. The days after Mara's passing were full of quiet change. The mansion, once dark and lonely, slowly filled with life. Not the noisy kind of life that Mara's children had brought before, but gentle, sincere life. Leo found himself caring for the house like it was his own. He cleaned the rooms, fed the birds in the garden, and carefully maintained Mara's inventions. But more than that, he listened to her voice recordings, learning the lessons she left behind. One morning, a woman came to the gate. She was older, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. I heard about Mara, she said softly. She helped my family when I was a child. I wanted to see the house and you. Leo welcomed her in. Her name was Mina, a teacher from the nearby village. I want to help, Mina said. She gave so much. It's time someone took care of her legacy. Leo nodded. I want to keep her inventions safe, but also share what she taught me. Mina smiled. That's how her work will live on, through people. Meanwhile, news about Mara's final message had spread beyond the local towns. People across the colonies were talking about the woman who chose kindness over blood. The story inspired many to think about their own families, their own choices. In the cities, Mara's children felt the weight of their mother's words every day. They tried to reach Leo, but he remained calm and polite, refusing to give them access to the inventions. Neil sent messages full of anger and regret. Raya tried to reason and ask for forgiveness. Toma threatened legal action. Leo ignored most of it. He had learned from Mara that some battles are not won with anger or force, but with patience and understanding. One afternoon, Leo and Mina sat in the garden, reviewing Mara's notes. These machines, Mina said, could change the way we live. Clean power for everyone, no pollution, no fighting over resources. Leo nodded. She wanted a better future, for all of us. Suddenly, Leo's device beeped. A message from an unknown sender. He opened it carefully. The message showed a video. Mara's children arriving again, this time with more people, more force. They're coming back, Leo said. Mina's face grew serious. Then we must be ready. The next day, the mansion buzzed with quiet activity. Leo and Mina prepared defenses, not weapons, but warnings, barriers, and messages. Mara's inventions were set to protect the land, but Leo knew that the greatest defense was in the people who believed in her dream. As the sun set, The first vehicles arrived. Mara's children and their hired guards stepped onto the property. Neil spoke loudly. "Leo, we want a deal. The inventions belong to family. Let us share control." Leo stood firm. "Mara chose differently. You abandoned her. I protect what she left behind." Raya's eyes filled with tears. "We were wrong. We want to make it right." Tama's voice was cold. "Give us the tech, or we take it." Leo looked at them all calmly. "You may have the power to take, but you don't have the right to use." Suddenly, the mansion's security system activated. Walls lit with glowing lines. Doors locked automatically. The machines in the basement, a word to life. A gentle but firm voice echoed through the halls. Mara's voice from the recordings. "To those who come seeking power without love, this house protects itself. You may enter, but only the true guardian may control what lies within." The children tried to move forward, but the house would not obey. Frustrated, Neil shouted, "This is madness." Leo smiled softly. "No, Neil, this is love. This is respect. This is legacy." Days passed. The children left empty-handed and changed. Leo and Mina worked together, sharing Mara's knowledge with nearby communities. They taught how to build clean energy systems, how to care for the earth, and how to value kindness above greed. Word spread, and more people came to learn. Mara's dream grew. Her final words were not just a warning, they were a new beginning.